Alrighty, here we are. All right, today's discussion will hinge on the previous video. You saw me, I'm just because I was out in the garage buttoning up Vanilla Ice's motor. So, got that done. Clutch is on, flywheel on, everything is ready. The motor's ready. It's ready to go in the car, and everything after that hooked up. We're at that stage now. So, cheers. Have a cup of coffee. All right. Today's discussion is super expensive or budget build. Now, let's be realistic when we're talking about this, because number one, I'm a regular working guy. Yeah, I'm blue collar, like most of you people. When I say blue collar, that means you get up every day and go to work in the morning, get off in the evening, or you go to work at night and get off in the morning, and you spend your weekends either trying to facilitate some work done in the garage, if your project has been in hibernation for the winter months, if you don't live in Tennessee and you don't drive your car year round, which here you can do that. Here you there's no hibernating the car. You can get in it, and it's pretty mild around here, so you can pretty much drive it around all year long. I mean, aside from that little hiccup of snow we had, and then the next week it was like 70 degrees. So yeah, you could have broke it out and rode around in it just like that. You know, that's how it works around here. But you're a blue collar worker. You save a little dollar here from your paycheck there, and of course we go back to the project status of if you own a car or truck that you are working on and it is a running vehicle. We will get into a few things. I'll give you a few points that I learned from some other people who work on cars. Now, I don't consider myself a car builder, because what does that mean? I mean, you can go out here in the garage and completely destroy something and then build it back up. It doesn't make you a car builder because you're not a professional. I don't know what they deem as being professional. I don't think it really matters, because you got guys before they ever called it a profession, like Gene Winfield. He's recently passed away. He was a heavily professionalized car builder. I mean, the dude learned how to do all his own stuff. He started in the 40s, 50s, chopping tops and building hot rods and that kind of thing. And now here in California, that's what they do. That's where it started. Hot rodding started in California. If you ever didn't know anything about where hot rodding came from and what the initial startup of it was and how it began, a small history lesson. It started when fighter pilots came home, needed a new high. Once you get out of a jet, you get into a regular car, that just ain't enough. So they were speed freaks. Here you go. Bought these raggedy cars, put motors in them, souped them up the best way they could. That's where you got Vic Edelbrock and Mickey Thompson and some of these other cats that come up with their own speed parts, make up their own stuff, because this stuff didn't exist. Here you go. Fast forward to now. The aftermarket is billions and billions of dollars of people souping their cars and trucks up. Here we go. Blue collar worker. Now, this has nothing to do with a new car, because blue collar workers can buy a new car, and that's great. But he ain't throwing that much money at a new car because it's new. Now, granted, he might want to change something on appearance wise, lower it, put some wheels on it, that kind of thing. And that's It's minimal in price compared to engine work, exhaust work, suspension work. I mean, major jobs where he's literally spending thousands of dollars to make things happen or make drastic changes. Whereas, we'll say somebody like, we'll make up an imaginary person. This person doesn't work a blue collar job. In fact, we'll say he's a business owner. He's got a little disposable income. That's what my wife calls it. You have disposable income. You're that type of person where you can drive a brand new car. You can drive a luxury car. BMW, Lexus, Mercedes Benz, a Rolls Royce, if that's what you want to drive. But you decide you want to be like one of these cats on the Kindig TV show. I want you to build me a car. So you go and have a car built. You tell them what you want. Tell them what you want it to look like. You got some kind of idea. Or you just literally say, hey, I bought this shell. Do whatever you want to it. I trust you. You got a few of those that happen. So after getting your rendering of what it could look like, the whole of this situation. Well, I could make it look like this. Or, let's see here. Make it look like this. There's some differences. Now, granted, I didn't put any color on these renderings because I just didn't get around to it. Now, granted, most of my stuff is in black and white, but I had planned to add color to it, and at some point I might, but we'll get back to that. So, he goes to the professional and says, hey, I want a car built. Now, I know this. You don't give them money up front. I've learned these things along the way. No, I don't want to be a car builder. And no, I've seen the public, and dealing with people is hard enough just towing their car or working on their car as a mechanic. It's just, yeah. And I've watched the Kindig show, and he's a cool guy. And I've seen the people that he has to deal with. Some of them seem to be a little difficult. There was one cat, he couldn't decide what color he wanted his car to be. And then the interior. He knew what he wanted as far as the car, but he couldn't decide on exterior color and interior colors and leather or interior basics. So you got this disposable income. And let's say this car is, okay, here's a roundabout. Average person who has a blank check, $600,000. Now, this would be the best of everything. This is even if you didn't go with Kindig and you went with some of these other cats, you went with a Pure Vision or one of these other dudes or whatever, and they use the best of everything. You get a roaster shop frame. Who knows what that costs? It's probably $20,000, $30,000. The best brakes, Wildwood, Bear, whatever. And then you drivetrain. What kind of drivetrain you going with? These are all things that are going to have to be found, and they're going to run it by you. And if that's what you're looking for, then that's what will be purchased. But at the same time, they're not buying it. You are. This is where the money comes in. You will actually give them or start an account where you put money in it, and they draw money off of that to build the car. And granted, once the money is gone, you have to put more money there for them to continue to work. That's why a lot of projects end up in project heaven. They start out good and they just run out of money. It's gone. And then it ends up on Facebook Marketplace or some other hot rod marketplace that probably isn't Facebook, but where you get performance machines and motors and pre-race or old race stuff, race engines, race carburetors, transmissions, race chassis, those kinds of things end up on these websites, and you would buy those projects from there. So, $600,000 car. Now, your $600,000 Camaro, your $600,000, oh, well, it's going to be an old car. There's nobody putting $600,000 into a new car because, number one, everything on it is already new. It's got good brakes. It's got good this, good that. I mean, if you're going to upgrade, you can get a Mustang with Brembo brakes. You can get a Vette with Brembo brakes. So those cars aren't options as far as taking a 69 Mach 1 5.0 swap, Coyote swapping it, or Voodoo swapping it, and then it's got the Roadster shop frame, because Mustangs are like Camaros, they're not full frame cars, but now the aftermarket offers full frames for these cars. So your 69 Mach 1 now has a Roadster shop frame, makes it ride like a new car. It's got Wildwood or Bear disc brakes. These systems, $6,000 to $10,000, depending on how big and what you're going to do with it. I mean, granted, most of these people aren't going to race the car. It's going to be a heavily driven car, maybe. I mean, me, if I spend $600,000 on a car and I can afford a McLaren or a Mercedes SLR or whatever, or a BMW M5 or M8 or whatever, these high-end luxury cars, and you've got this muscle car that's $600,000, custom interior, custom suspension, it rides better than any new car, and it's way more powerful, but it looks like an old car. Okay, so aside from that, $600,000, roughly. All right, as opposed to somebody like me. Now, initial investment of the car, $2,200. Needed a steering rack. All right, put a steering rack in it. There was nothing else wrong with it. The motor ran fine. The car had been sitting because it needed a steering rack and they didn't want to put one in it, so they bought it from the person that were selling it. Realized it needed a steering rack. They didn't want to do the work. I bought the car from them. So I brought it home, put a $100 steering rack in it, drove it around, and then, of course, I'm not rolling in dough. I got a little bit of money when my father passed away, and so I picked a car that I initially wanted to. It wasn't a dream car because I don't have dream cars. I have cars that I would like to own, and so they're not dream cars. You got these people like, my dream car is 1967 GT500 Eleanor. Okay, yes, that would seem like it would be a dream car because, number one, no one can afford that car unless they've got six-figure money, and the average Joe ain't owning an Eleanor, and it'll take him forever to build one, So, yeah, you got to think realistically. So my realistic list of cars that are easy for me to obtain, build to a level that I will enjoy, is on that level. There's nothing. I'm not spending. I don't think I even have $10,000 in what I got out here right now. That's even after the block, the block debacle, and I already had $5,000 just in the motor, in the car when it was running, and that's been 5-6 years ago. Now, granted, let's be realistic; those numbers have escalated because the same parts that I used to build that motor are now double or triple the price. The cam I bought is double. It's double the price that I paid for it. The heads, they don't make them anymore. They're a 1993 only SVO, and they made them back in 93, and they were on a shelf. I bought them off a guy from eBay for $500, and they were bare. He had 6 sets. I bought a set from him. I set them on the shelf because I already had ideas going of what I was going to do. So I pieced it here and there. And that's what a blue collar guy does. He decides, okay, I'm gonna get some performance parts. And no, it'll never make 1,000 horsepower, but it's not intended to. It's gonna be circa 1993 performance wise. Block heads. Now, granted, it's stroked. That's not the same. But back then, people were doing the 306 and a cam and those types of things to Mustangs, and so you had your Flowmasters and all that, and you get the gist of all of that. But initially, you didn't have a whole lot of money in the car, and it ran good and it sounded good, and you had fun. You put wheels on it, had a decent paint job. You might have had $10,000-$15,000 in it, tops, before even you decided you were going to put a Vortec on it or a Paxton or whatever. Aside from those things, you didn't have a house investment in the car. Now, I will never own a car that costs more than a house I live in. That's just me. I don't believe in that. And an automobile can be hit and destroyed. I don't care how much work you put in it. Some dummy can come out here drinking and driving and total it and kill you, and there it went, and you with it. So I think you can have fun with it, and you can build it to your like. And I think that if it got wrecked, I've been there. My first coupe got hit. I bought another coupe for $400 from Nathan Killian. He knows who he is. And I took it home. I stripped the wreck car down, and I transferred everything from the wreck car to the 4-cylinder car. Nobody would ever know. It basically, I just took everything out, swapped it over to the other car. 4 or 5 months later, I was driving the other car. Nobody ever would have known, other than it was blue. It was bimini blue. But I was rolling. Only thing I bought new for that car, other than just, little knickknacks that I had to replace in it to upgrade things that were in the other car, I bought new wheels and tires. I put brand new wheels all the way around. Big and littles, brand new Cooper Cobras on the rear, and it had a nice little rake to it. It was bad. And, I put headers on it and all that, and it had nice exhaust. So, yeah, I initially, I had less money in that car, and I still had fun in it. So it can be done. Now, granted, no, it ain't outrunning, it ain't got twin turbos and got Brembo brakes and all that. It didn't have none of that, but, that's irrelevant. But it had whatever I took off the other car on it, and that worked for that car as far as what it was, and that was a police car. I took a state trooper coupe that got wrecked, and I stripped everything off of it and put it on a 4-cylinder coupe. Rear end, front end brakes, all that. Stripped it all down, put it on the other car, and it worked. And initially, all I had in it was the $400, the $800 I spent on wheels and tires, because back then you could buy a set of wheels and tires for $800. The whole set, front and rear, with front tires, front runners, and Cooper Cobra 10-inch tires out back. Yeah. So, yeah, you could do that. You can't do that now. So, super expensive versus budget. Now, granted, the budget guy, what he sees as being budget, all right, for instance, the wheels on my car, all right, they make all kinds of wheels. There's 10,000 wheel makers that make all kinds of wheels to fit just about anything. You can find a wheel that costs $200 a wheel. You can find a set of wheels where they cost $2,000 a wheel. Now, granted, Mr. $600,000 car, his wheels are probably going to cost him, depending on how wide they are on the rear, which most of them do the pro touring thing, and that's where the money it starts to rack up. Because being realistic, if you're building a 70s style car, let's say you 67 Firebird, okay? You're going to big and little it, okay? Your choices are going to be Kragers. If you're going to go old school, Kragers, and then if you can find the Fenton slot mags, which are very expensive and very hard to find. And that's what I had on. That's what Pop had on his car. He had the Fentons on it. And I didn't think about it, But them wheels have been on that car the whole time he's had it. And I don't think he paid a whole lot of money for them back then. But now they're vintage. Those wheels are like $1,000 a set, which, depending on who's got them, they're $2,000 for all four, or even $3,000. But, aside from that, you're building a vintage car. You're going to spend what you would think would be whatever you're willing to pay to make it run efficiently, make it run the way you want it to, make it sound the way you want it to, and sit the way you want it to, and be enjoyable. That's going to be your price range. Okay, Mr. $600,000 price range, okay, his expectations are going to be super high because his pocket is limitless. If he puts a cap on it, and let's say $600,000 is the cap, okay, for $600,000, he's gonna get a lot, okay. Custom paint job, custom frame, custom interior, custom audio system, custom headlights, taillights, LED this, LED that. It's going to be the best of what his money can buy, whoever's building the car. Flip on over to the working man side. All right. So I built my car to do a certain thing. It's not a race car. If I wanted a race car, I'd build a race car. But a race car can only do race car things. And a street car does street car things. There's more street car things than race car things. Okay? So I'd rather have a street car than I could just get in and just drive it when I want to, as opposed to a race car that I got to prep to go do something with it. And then once I'm done with it, I got to unprep it for the next time so I can prep it to go do the race thing again. No. And then race cars break things. Street cars don't break things very often because they're not punished. They're not run on the ragged edge. So if you build your street car to run nice, it sounds good, it looks neat, that's really where your money's going to be spent. From what I gather, stance is number one. 2, wheel selection. Okay, and then we'll get into that another time. But wheels make the car. You put a set of ugly wheels on your car, it's you ruin it. You got a $50,000 paint job and you cheaped out on the wheels. You just ruined that car. It's ruined. Like we say down here in the South, you ruined it, son. It's ruined. Yeah. But you come up with an idea. You decide what you want it to look like. And most of the, if you own a Mustang or Camaro, they're all running the same stuff. There's variations on the wheels, factory wheels you can get. They've been widened and that kind of thing, and put rivets in them, and they get different colors. And so, yeah, you could end up with a set that doesn't look like this guy's, and y'all got the same car. It's the same thing with the Mustang, same thing with the Corvette. It's the same exact thing, unless you're going to spend umpteen amounts of money, like Mr. 600,000 over here, and you're going to get custom wheels, custom paint, body kits, custom interiors, that kind of thing. You're going to completely throw the bank at this car. But you also have to realize that Mr. 600,000, his car, let's say it's a 65 GTO. Okay, it's a 65 GTO. He throws $600,000 at it. It's still going to be worth a lot of money because it's a 65 GTO and it's been restomodded, restored, and modified at the same time. So somebody's going to want that. All right. So he's going to get some of his money back, because if he does it right, everybody will like the way it looks. So that means everybody would want to buy it. A car done wrong, only a select few people are going to want to buy it. That's why people say, well, the guys that stanced their cars, and you know what that means. It's stanced. Not it has stance, it's been stanced, or static stanced. If you don't know what that means it's permanent. So if it's has no springs, no shocks. It sits on the ground and the wheels are popped out and it don't move. It is stanced, static stanced. Didn't know that till I met a guy who had a static stance Mazda, and I was curious as to what that meant. But you know, on this channel, that'll never happen. We don't do that type of thing here. This is I'm old. I do kind of like my car lowered, but not like that. So scratch that one. But yeah, you get the right stance. You get the right motor sounds, whatever motor you got. You run in a cam. If you like the stock stuff and you just want a little blurp, 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 I mean, you can go with that, put your decent exhaust on it, whatever's making you happy. If it's a cruiser or it's a muscle car that you just want to add a little bit more muscle to it just to make you happy, you get some attention. You pull up at the light and it's camming. And somebody looks over, they're looking at you because you're making some noise. All right? So here we are. That's where you're putting your money where what's going to get you the most attention. Mr. 600,000, his whole car is going to get the attention because he's got a lot in it, and he can afford that. But over here on the blue collar side, we're doing what we can to maximize our dollar. All right. So suspension wise on the Fox, I'm going to do Maximum Motorsports. Maximum Motorsports stuff ain't cheap, but why would it be? I don't think it's the best you can get, but it's up there with Kenny Brown and Saline and this stuff has been proven. It's been on a track, so it's not a track car, but I'd like it to be trackable. So I'll throw my money at that. Now, granted, the suspension work itself, if I took it to somebody, it probably cost me $2,000, but I'm gonna buy the stuff and put it on myself. Blue collar over here. Get your hands dirty out there doing your own thing. Granted, I can't pay somebody. No, I could. But then me paying them to work on my car is going to take away from what I can buy. If I learn to do it myself, which is not that hard. I mean, most of the stuff suspension-wise is bolt on. With a minimum amount of welding, you can make it happen. But it's all about budget. And then who Mr. 600,000 over here. But he's not touching anything. He's only making decisions. He's saying, I want that color. I want those wheels. I want it to look like this. I want it to sound like this. And I'm going to pay you. So all you do is call me and I'll come and look at it when you're in certain stages of getting it finished. And I'll show up and go, oh, well, that's what my money's buying. Okay. Mr. Blue Collar over here, us, is going, you know what? I'm going to order some new wheels and they're going to cost this much money. That means I got to save up the money to get the wheels. So, or if I'm planning on getting the wheels, then I need to know how much they cost. So then I can decide if I'm either going to buy those wheels or I'm going to change my mind and buy something cheaper that will look just as good. That's where usually the way I work. Now, granted, for my Firebird, I would love to have the honeycomb wheels that Year One makes. But at $800 a wheel, no. No. Even I'm pretty sure I could put a pretty decent paint job on the Bird and those wheels will really set that car off. But even with the 455, the honeycomb wheels with the 12s on the rear and the 10s in the front and it's sitting low, I mean, it'd be bad. I can see it, and you've seen the rendering. I mean, I could make it happen, but how much money am I going to have in it, and how much time is it going to take me to make that happen? Mr. 600,000 over here, he's got a timetable. He can roll up and say, look, I need this car done in 6 months. See, I don't have 6 months worth of money to make that happen. That's why it's going to take me longer. Blue collar over here. So I have to do what I can, when I can, with the dollar amount that I got. And then if I got to save up for something major, which is a badass set of wheels, is a major purchase. If I'm buying a motor, That's a major purchase. Not building one, buying one. Let's say I'm going to buy LS3 or LS7 or LT4 with the supercharger come out of Camaro. You know, even a takeout motor is a 20,000, maybe 14 to $20,000 hit. If you get a wrecked one, you know, get all and everything's there, you know, you might save a couple bucks. Still, you're still on a timetable because number one, you work. Mr. 600,000 over here, he works, but somebody else is billing his car. He's not working on it himself. That's where the time and the money comes in over here, Mr. Blue Collar. Mr. Blue Collar is over here scuffling and paying the bills and paying the mortgage and doing all this other stuff and then trying to make his automotive dreams come true out there in the garage. Whereas Mr. 600,000 is letting Ken Dig or whoever bill his car and it's show up, hey, it's done. Here you are. Get in and drive off. And you know what gets me? This is what gets me. All right. The Riddler Award show. All right. So everybody that's in that show, the car builders show up. They're the ones who built the car. All right. Owner's over here talking like he did the work. He did no work. Half of them ain't never turned a wrench. Ain't never got greasy. Ain't never been up under a car. But they're over there bragging, oh, well, yeah, my car won this award and that award, and yeah, this and that. And I'm like, with me, that doesn't hold a whole lot of clout. Now, granted, I'm nobody, but in my garage, I'm top dog. I'm me. You're not gonna tell me you're this or that, and I'm like, you haven't even turned a wrench, but you're watching me. I'm out here in the driveway pulling the motor and pulling a tranny and jacking it up and changing out brakes and dropping it down and changing springs, and I'm doing all of this myself. So that doesn't hold clout with you because you have money. You can pay somebody. Whereas we're not the same. So there's the difference between the blue collar guy and Mr. Moneybags. So super expensive versus budget. That the difference between us is that most budget guys work on their own car. Some of us. I mean, you can scrimp and let somebody else work on your car and then just make sure they get it done, and just pretend that, hey, you know, so and so, we put the supercharger on. Who is we? Who's we? We don't. There's no we over here. There's only me. So if something gets done to that car, it's going to be I, not we. And that's what they do when they're explaining their car. Yeah, we built this and we added this and we tucked the roll pan and yeah, we chopped the top. You were involved? At what point? I see no busted knuckles. Oh, well, just looking at you, you look like you got a little bit of money. So that means you paid him to build your car. Okay, you're capable of doing that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, but we're not the same. And this ain't a Kendrick Lamar song. We're not the same. We're not the same when it comes to that because the guy that builds his own car knows what it takes. And yeah, if he had $600,000, he wouldn't spend $600,000 to build a car. Because I can guarantee you, if I was going to build my car the way I want it, it wouldn't cost me $600,000. Because I'd be building it myself and everything as far as the hours. That's where the money comes in at. How many man hours does it take to make that body perfect? How many man hours does it take to put the frame and all that garbage together? It's the time. He's paying them for their time. And if it's $600,000, then that's what it is. I will have $600,000 in a car. I probably wouldn't even have $100,000 in it. And I guarantee you, most of the people I know can build a car and not have even $50,000 in it. And it looks just as good as any of them other ones, even with a factory paint job. But it's all about what you want to do with it. And granted, he's not going to take that out and beat on it. I mean, he could. He ain't got nothing in it but what he paid for it. I mean, there's no you get something and you put your love and your sweat and your blood and tears in it. That's why you don't beat on it like that. You get out there and you'll hit it and do a few burnouts and all that. And if it's not a race car, but it's a nice street car and it'll run like a scalded dog, yeah, you'll beat on it here and there, but you're not beating on it to the point that you wanna break it or tear it up. You just want to enjoy it. So that's where that comes in. That's where the difference between the blue collar build and the expensive build go their separate ways. The expensive build is probably going to be on the show circuit, which a lot of them get. That's what happens to them. They look so good and they're so perfect in their expertise. Whoever worked on them, that they'll put them in the show. They'll go to SEMA or anywhere else. Whereas Mr. Blue Collar, he's riding around in his car shows, cruise-ins, ride runs, that kind of thing. That's the enjoyment. While Mr. 600,000, he got to wait for his car to get off the show circuit before he can drive it. And even then, he might be like a Kevin Hart. And I can't stand Kevin Hart, just so you know. He knows nothing. We'll discuss his little, whatever, whenever we can. But he's got enough money. He can have any kind of car built. And I can tell you right now, if you were to ask him what's in it, he couldn't tell you. He likes it. He likes the way it look. He likes to be able to say, that's my car. But all the guys that are building his cars, and he's got a car being built over here, one being built over here, one over there, and add them to his collection. Well, when his career crashes and his money runs out, he's going to start selling them cars. That'll be what that is. But, yeah. Budget built versus expensive built, I think that they're nice to look at. But in the real world, not something you want to really mess with. If you're a type to get your hands dirty and you're a blue collar guy, you know what it means to turn a wrench. You know what it means to spend money on an engine block and buy performance parts and try to save up every week a little dollar here and there to try to get that cam and get those rims that you want to put on your car, them lowering springs. All these things add up to this vision that you got that you're trying to make happen on a budget. You can make it happen. I've made it happen at least 2-3 times. Now I'm trying to make it happen 2-3 more times. So, budget versus expensive. I guess if you got it and you don't have the skill, you'll pay for it. You got the skill, but not the budget, you can make it happen. It's going to take you longer. That's all. But I guarantee you, it's like they say, it's sweet when you get it done. And everybody's, man, your ride is sick. Sweet looking. Them some badass wheels, man. That thing sits perfect. Man, she sounds nasty. Boy, that engine's just hitting. That cam's hitting a lick, bruh. Thank you. Much appreciated. Took a lot of hard work to make this happen. Appreciate you recognizing that. And that's what that is. Recognize. It's the work. So, that being said, I'm going to keep doing what I do. If I hit the lottery, I'll still do what I do. Because I can't really see somebody working on my car. I would just build a bigger shop, buy better tools. I could buy better stuff. But even if I won the lottery, I wouldn't have a $600,000 car. I'd have a car that fits what I want to do with it. And it would be nice and neat and everything. I'd do everything myself just like I've been doing it. And you would never know the difference. And yeah, if I could buy roads to shop stuff, yeah, I would. It's good stuff. If I could buy, any of these other products these cats sell that make a car run better and ride better, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes if I got that kind of money. But it's me doing it, not me paying somebody to do it. Once again, whatever you think, leave a comment. As always, it's my garage against the world. It always will be. And I'll catch you all on the next one. We'll see what the next discussion is going to be. Meanwhile, I got work to do, as you can see. So I'll catch y'all on the next video. Leave a comment, as always, and I'll get back to you. Keep between the ditches.